Hello, fellow flamenco enthusiasts, and welcome to Everything Flamenco. I'm your host, Lau Hugo. This is episode 47, and today we're going to talk about preventing injuries and how that relates to your dancing. So I hope you enjoyed the episode about La Chana last week. So in that episode, we briefly mentioned her injuries and how she adapted her movements to enable her to still dance in her 70s, even with serious knee problems and pain. And to be honest, I've personally never seen injuries happen directly from flamenco, except for the occasional stepping on one's own foot. But recently I've seen quite a few flamenco dancers that stopped because they either came with previous injuries and health challenges, or they just couldn't keep up with the flamenco pace, perhaps because their health isn't what it should be or what it was in the past. So we're going to delve into that a little bit more and see what we can do to maybe prevent those things or to make us a bit stronger so that we can dance a little bit longer. I don't really necessarily always see injuries from flamenco, but if that occurs, it's usually what I've seen from beginner students for various reasons. They will either overexert themselves, especially with the wrist movements for the hands, the floreos. I've also done that when I started because you kind of want to force your wrists to go in a 360-degree circle. And because of that, you're pushing too hard and then you're putting too much strain on your joints and you can hurt it. Or the other thing can also be not having proper balance when dancing, not engaging your core and placing your feet correctly. And the most common occurrence probably is from poor fitting shoes that can lead to faulty technique. So I myself have had foot injuries, not flamenco related, but I've had foot injuries in the past. And that forced me to stop dancing for a while. And it made me so miserable. So we're going to focus on seeing where we can implement little things to prevent dance injuries, because who wouldn't want to do that so that they can continue living their passion and dancing flamenco for the rest of their lives? Time moves on, and even though I think I can still move pretty well and that I can keep up with younger flamenco dancers, although little footnote, I think they disagree with me. I I do feel that I'm definitely more prone to muscle pains and possible injuries than before. That is something that's very scary because I really don't want to stop dancing flamenco anytime soon. However, injuries, especially as you get older, are probably inevitable, and to ignore them can severely impact your dancing life and might even force you to stop. So, who wants that? So, let's just talk about what we can do to make sure that we can keep on dancing as long as possible. Before I start with some guidance, which is from my own experience, I have to put a disclaimer here that these are things that I found useful during my life with flamenco, and that I'm by no means a qualified doctor or any other medical health professional. So if you do have any injuries already or pre-existing conditions, or even if you are completely healthy but you're not sure if you need to do any of these, please consult your doctor before doing anything. So my number one thing to prevent dance injuries is a proper warm-up. A proper cool down is probably also a good thing, but I don't really do that often. Although our classes are normally structured that it builds up to a point and then it slowly winds down as the session ends. And I guess we also don't push as hard as professionals probably do, so that helps. Warm-ups are really important, and with our warm-ups, for example, I kind of try to stay with the same routine with some small variations because it also creates muscle memory and it lets my body and my students' bodies know that we are going to dance now. So if you don't do warm-ups in your school and you feel like you maybe want to, something quick just to do is to perhaps just roll your shoulders a little bit and roll your wrists a little bit with your hands closed, not necessarily the flamenco fingers, just the wrists and your ankles just to loosen it up a bit before you start. So some warm-up exercises that I like to do are neck rolls, neck tilts, shoulder rolls, like I said, wrist rolls, like I said, side stretches, and ankle circles. And there are many more that you can do. I'm just first going to talk about other things that you can do to prevent injuries. And then after that, I'll give you some good warm up and cool down and strengthening exercises to do at the end of the episode. Number one definitely is a good warm up. And number two, if you are dancing intensely, is a proper cool down. And number three, especially in flamenco, because it can be very intense, is proper technique and posture. You need to ensure that your body is aligned correctly to avoid strain on your knees, your hips, and your lower back. And especially if you come from other dance disciplines where you were taught differently about how your body should be positioned when you do footwork, you need to be very conscious of this because in flamenco, it's a very, very specific way that your body needs to be positioned in order to help your body absorb the shock of your footwork. Very important to do that. So you need to focus also on correct weight distribution during footwork to avoid excessive impact on your joints. You need to lift your feet from the back and not hop up and down because that is also going to cause unnecessary strain on your joints. Don't lock your knees and don't stamp unnecessarily loud. I did a little episode about myths about flamenco footwork and things like that in one of the previous episodes. I can't remember which one it was, but louder is not always better, and louder doesn't mean that your technique is good. So flamenco footwork can be loud at times, but it needs to be musical. So it's not always just loud stomping holes in the floor or trying to stomp holes in the floor. But talking about floors, number 4 is dancing on a proper floor. You need to dance flamenco on a floor or a board that has a bit of give in it. So it needs to be sprung as it does help to absorb the shock of footwork and it protects your joints. If you are just practicing at home in your flatties or your tackies and you don't really stamp your feet loud, that's fine. But especially if you're going to do intense footwork, you need to dance on a proper floor or a proper board. Adding on to that, all coming down to the feet, is to have proper flamenco shoes. You cannot dance in ballroom or Latin shoes or normal heeled shoes. It needs to be proper flamenco shoes. Flamenco shoes should be well fitted, provide good arch support, and have sturdy heels so that you don't get foot and ankle injuries. Also, you need to take care of your flamenco shoes. If they are worn out or the soles are too thin, they won't support you properly. So you need to take them to a good cobbler to have them serviced, almost like you service your car or bicycle, or when you go for your annual checkup at the GP. So we'll still tackle that in a bit more detail. And just a note here, so in the Western Cape, if you want to have your flamenco shoes fixed, you go to Rock Soul in Boerkaap in Cape Town. This is not a sponsored episode. I'm just telling you that's the only place in Cape Town that will fix your shoes properly. So take them to Rock Soul and don't let the soles of your flamenco shoes wear through completely because that might damage the shoe so badly that you won't be able to have them fixed. Number 6 is hydration. You need to drink water. Not being properly hydrated can lead to muscle cramps and fatigue, which is going to affect your posture and your technique, and that can lead to further injuries. Number 7 is proper nutrition. Oh, I want to talk here as I don't do all of this all the time. Sometimes I just grab a slice of bread on the go, but okay. Maybe I need to follow my own advice. So if you are dancing a lot, this is especially important because you need to make sure that you properly nourish your body to support muscle recovery and joint health, and to include foods that are rich in calcium, magnesium, and omega-3. Number 8 is proper and gradual progression. So when you are maybe doing a tech class or something like that, you shouldn't suddenly just increase the intensity. You need to build up footwork speed and jumps and turns gradually so that you don't overload your muscles and joints. Because if your body can't handle it, you shouldn't push yourself. You should always ask yourself when you are dancing, so if it's not comfortable, because obviously you also want to push yourself to get better. So you need to ask yourself this question: is pushing myself now going to make me a better dancer, or is it going to end up hurting me? And that is how you will know if you can push or if you should actually just ease up a little bit. Talk to your teacher if you struggle. They will happily make adjustments for you with movement. I'm sure of it. We've got lovely teachers out there. Number 9 is to strengthen your balance and your proprioception, your body awareness. So practice things like single leg exercises, balancing drills, and turn preparation to improve your stability and to prevent you from falling. You can use tools like balance boards or stability balls to enhance your proprioception. And it also helps to be in the moment when you dance, to be aware what it feels like if your core is engaged, your shoulders are relaxed, and you are in the proper position for footwork, for example. And if you dance in a classroom that's got a mirror, don't just rely on the mirror to tell you what your body position is like. You really need to be present in your body to understand how it feels, and to then also just be aware if something doesn't feel right. And then number 10, and that is something that I really don't do a lot of, but I need to do it and it's very important. And that is cross training for flamenco. So you can do low impact activities like Pilates, which is great for overall strength and mobility. Also strength training for core, for your legs, your feet, and your ankles, and body weight exercises. I know life is super busy and you probably would just want to spend most of your time doing flamenco, but I think something like planks and squats might be easy to incorporate every day. I actually recently started doing planks again, and I think it might help. So maybe just doing a plank when you just get up in the morning and seeing if you can improve your time every day, or doing squats while you're waiting for the water to boil for a coffee or something. What do you think? For some good warm up, cool down, and strengthening exercises, I have loads. If I'm going to go into detail what they all are, this episode is going to become way too long. So I'm just going to list them for you, and then perhaps, I don't know how much space is in the description of this episode. I can perhaps just list them again, and then you can go and look them up to see what it actually entails. So I'm just going to read them. Some good upper body warm-ups is shoulder rolls, arm circles, elbow circles, wrist rotations, neck rolls, side stretches, torso twists, chest openers, plank holds, shoulder blade squeezes, arm work practice, marking with posture, hand flicks and wrist rolls, and these last 3 is very flamenco specific. Then for some lower body warm-ups, you can do ankle circles, toe flex and point, heel raises, leg swings, hip circles, deep squats with a heel lift, lunges with an arm reach, inner thigh stretches or side lunges, hamstring walks, single leg balances, or pelvic tilts. And if you've had quite an intense workout of flamenco upper body work and footwork, a good cool down can help to release the tension and improve flexibility and prevent stiffness going forward. So some good cool down exercises that you can do: again, shoulder rolls, wrist and hand stretches, elbow and forearm stretches, chest openers, upper back stretch, neck tilts again, seated or standing forward folds, controlled arm movements, or diaphragmatic breathing, or mindful posture checks. So some lower body cool down exercises can be toe stretches or foot massage, calf stretches, hamstring stretches, hip and inner thigh stretch, also called a butterfly stretch, a figure four stretch, which is good for your glutes and your hips, then a seated forward fold, a supine twist, again diaphragmatic breathing, and a mindful body scan. And then what is important, well, that's outside of class. So some strengthening exercises that I think can be really helpful. I'll maybe just go into a little bit more detail with this. Calf raises, where you stand with your feet hip width apart and slowly raise your heels to stand on your toes. Just hold it for a few seconds, then lower your heels back to the ground. You can do 3 sets of 15 to 20 reps. Just toe tapping. Yeah, we also do this in class, and it's quite funny. You can't really do this with flamenco music in the background. It doesn't sound right. But yeah, just tapping the toes of each foot against the ground. Then ankle circles, which I think is self-explanatory. And then doing some strengthening for your core. That also will help with your lower back and your hips. So do planks. Everybody knows what a plank is. And a dead bug, which means you lie on your back with your knees bent at 90 degrees and your arms extended overhead like a bug that died. You slowly lower one arm and the opposite leg and keep your back pressed into the floor, specifically focusing on your lower back. And then you return to the starting position and you repeat both sides. And this targets the deep core muscles. Then you can also do hip bridges, where you lie on your back with your feet flat on the floor and your knees bent. And you lift your hips toward the ceiling, squeezing your bum, and then lowering your hips slowly back to the ground. This will strengthen the glutes, the lower back, and your core. And then for arms and shoulders, even though you might feel that you're just doing soft movements with your hands and things, your arms need to be strong and your elbows up most of the time. So it's good to have good strength in your arms. So you can do wall push-ups or shoulder circles, bicep curls. Then for your wrists and hands, do wrist flexor and extensor stretches, and then also having those stress balls that you can squeeze for 1 to 2 minutes to build hand strength and endurance. That's also very good, and it will put less strain on your wrists. Then for your hips and your legs, you can do squats or lunges or hip openers. And then for your neck and back as well, to do a cat-cow stretch, which is you stand on your hands and your knees, and then you inhale and you arch your back, which is the cow position, and then you exhale and round your back, which is the cat position. And this will strengthen the spine and your neck, and then also neck stretches. So just again, a little disclaimer on these exercises. I am no health specialist. Please consult your GP if you have any pre-existing conditions or if you have pain or discomfort when doing any of these, because it can cause further injury, and I am not a professional. So I hope that this will help you a little bit, and we will end the episode there. Not completely a flamenco related episode, but quite a strong flamenco theme. I think after this Carmen series, I'm really trying to keep the flamenco theme going strong throughout the episodes, even though we can use some of these exercises and tips for general dancing as well, or other genres. So I hope that these will help you. These are things that help me if I actually do them, which is again a little bit of honesty. So good proper warm-up, cool down and strengthening can really help you and prolong your dancing life. And I'm sure there's lots more tips and tricks that you can do. So if you have any, please share them with me in the comments. We also have some exercises that can be done for injury recovery, which I will touch on in next week's episode. So some of the exercises might overlap a little, but I'll try not to repeat myself. So next week we will talk about when you are actually injured, what on earth are you supposed to do? Because I know that for people that are very passionate about flamenco or whatever art form they are practicing, it's really, really hard to deal with injury when you don't want to stop what you are doing. So we'll talk on that a little bit next week. So I will see you then. Ole!